All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions in all of science. We're talking about that light inside your head, the experience of being you, consciousness. But what is it actually for?
Now, we're not asking what it feels like to see the color red or to be in love. We're asking what scientists call the functional question. Why did this thing even evolve? What purpose does it serve? What does consciousness do for us that our unconscious brain can't?
So let's start there. Why are we conscious? To even begin to answer that, we're going to need a solid guiding theory.
And here it is, the leading idea from decades of research. The main job of consciousness, its whole reason for being, evolutionarily speaking, is to give us flexible, adaptive control over what we do. It's the system our brain fires up when, just running on autopilot won't cut it.
To really get a grip on this idea of flexible control, it helps to look at its total opposite. You can think of your brain as having two main operating modes, the conscious one and the automatic one. Let's put them side by side.
What you're seeing here is a fundamental trade-off. On one side, you have your automatic brain. It is lightning fast, super efficient, but totally rigid. Think about things like breathing or walking or brushing your teeth. You don't think about it, you just do it. But on the other side, you have conscious control, and man, is it slow and energy hungry. But its superpower, it's incredibly flexible. It's adaptive. This is the mode that kicks in for completely new situations, when you're facing a problem you have absolutely never seen before.
And let me tell you, consciousness is not cheap. You know that feeling of being totally mentally drained after a day of intense focus? That is the price your brain is paying for this incredible versatility. As the quote puts it perfectly, we are literally purchasing that flexibility, and the cost is speed and energy.
Okay, so we've got the why, but what about the how? How does consciousness actually manage to take control? What's the mechanism at work here?
Well, the first big piece of this puzzle is a concept called access consciousness. Now imagine your unconscious mind is like a huge building with tons of separate offices. The balance department doesn't really talk to the language department. They each do their own thing. But when something becomes conscious, it's like that piece of information gets pinned to a giant bulletin board in the main lobby where every single department can see it and use it.
And this is the absolute key. Consciousness acts like a broadcast system. It can take a single piece of info, say the sight of a car suddenly pulling out in front of you, and blast it everywhere at once. It doesn't just trigger your jump-back reflex, it alerts your memory systems, your emotional centers, your long-term planning modules. Just like it says here, its sphere of influence becomes gigantic.
A really powerful way to picture this is with something called Global Workspace Theory. Just imagine your mind is a huge dark theater, and the audience is filled with all these specialized, unconscious expert systems. Consciousness is like a single bright spotlight sweeping across the stage. Whatever that spotlight lands on is instantly broadcast to the entire audience. And this allows all those different experts to suddenly coordinate and work together on one single complex problem. That's where the flexible control comes from.
And you've seen this process in action every time you've learned something new. Think about learning to drive a car. Remember that? At first, it's all brutally conscious effort. Okay, check the mirror. Now the signal. Ease off the clutch. It's exhausting. But as you practice, those actions need less and less direct thought. And eventually, driving just becomes automatic. The skill moves from the conscious spotlight to the expert unconscious crew. And that is a brilliant design because it frees up your slow, expensive conscious mind to tackle the next new challenge, like trying to navigate a crazy, unfamiliar city.
So, this core function, flexible control, has some absolutely massive implications. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture, because this is where it gets really interesting. So, why does all this matter? Well, for one, it gets right to the heart of huge questions like free will. Instead of just having an automatic reflex, consciousness creates this mental space, a sphere of options where we can deliberate and make a fresh choice. That's a pretty big deal. It also gives us a killer explanation for why consciousness evolved at all. An animal that can improvise when facing a new predator or a new food source, that animal has a massive survival advantage. And ultimately, this is the engine behind all human problem solving, everything from figuring out a leaky pipe to landing a rover on another planet.
To bring all these ideas together, let's wrap up with a powerful metaphor that I think really makes it click.
So imagine your brain is a giant ship sailing the ocean. The vast majority of the time, the ship is run by a highly trained, super efficient crew. These are your unconscious processes,
They're hoisting the sails, swabbing the decks, keeping the engines humming. They are absolute pros at their jobs and can navigate familiar waters with incredible speed without even thinking about it.
But that expert crew, they're only trained for routine journeys. When a sudden, violent storm appears out of nowhere, or when the ship has to navigate a treacherous, uncharted channel to a new port, that's when the crew looks up to the bridge. The captain, your consciousness, steps forward to take the helm. The captain is slower, more deliberate, yes, but the captain is the only one who can see the whole picture, access all the ship's charts and instruments, and create a brand new, flexible plan to get the ship safely through the unforeseen challenge.
So, in the end, consciousness isn't about doing everything. It's about stepping in to do the right thing when everything is new and uncertain. It's your brain's ultimate problem solver. It's the captain who takes command in a crisis. Which leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. If your consciousness is the captain, who or what is steering your ship the rest of the time when you're just on autopilot?